We have a traditional healers forum from the four corners of the world. And before we get started, I would like to introduce Bruce Elijah of the Oneida Clan, the Iroquois Confederation. He's a community organizer, a lifelong storyteller, and a faith keeper. And he is here to open up, as we usually do, any kind of gathering with a convocation, a blessing, some words of wisdom. Are you there, Bruce?
Yes, I am.
Yes, we would like you to open up our program with some words, and if you could stay on the line also after that.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yes. Well, welcome, everyone. And it is always a pleasure. And the first things, before everything else, is that we come together and we do a prayer. And the prayer is that we hope that everyone is in good health, of a good mind, and a good spirit. And we want to be able to put our minds together as one of all the four colors of man. And we can begin to say that we hope that all is well with you, with your family, in your community, your extended family, so that we are in a good way. And we always do that because we never know the circumstances of how our lives are. So we want to put to rest in everybody's mind that we are going to address and think about how fortunate that we are that we still live in this world, that there are people that care without doing any harm or without doing any things that are happening in other places of the world, that we are at peace, that we are living in peace. We want to be able to give a thanksgiving to all the creatures of the world, the four-leggeds, the fin ones in the water, and to be able to say to the four directions, with all the plants and the medicines that grow there, that we still gather, and to be able to put our minds in a good way, that we can share the goodness of that, the fruits of our crops, and also the medicines that we have. And we can still do that. And so we want to put our minds together and give an all thanksgiving to all of those teachings that is given to us, all those gifts, those wonderful gifts that is given to us. And to share amongst each other and to show that the waters, of how important that water is, the giver of all of life. For without water, we wouldn't be able to exist or to continue. We need to take a look at that there are things that we can do that can bring the natural waters back to its original, that we can work towards that. So we want to be able to give an acknowledgement to that life. So be it in our minds. Want to be able to give an acknowledgement to all of our relatives. And when you say our relatives, that's all the creatures of the world. So that they're there for a reason, and we are here for a reason, and ours is to understand what our roles and what our responsibilities are. And see if we can look into the future. And it is told to us that if there's a way that we can look at it for the next 7 generations ahead, that there's some things that we have to make a change now in our lives that are going to make that even better. So we want to be able to put our minds together and give an acknowledgement for that we can do that, and that we should be able to do that. We don't need any laws to tell us what to do or how to do it. All it takes is a common sense to put our minds in that direction of how we can improve. that life, that lifestyle that we have, and how we can change for the better, for the future. We don't have to destroy anything else in the process of doing that. And so, with that, for this evening, we would like to put our minds together and give an acknowledgement. Look to the right and to the left of you and ahead of you and behind you. And reach out and shake those hands and give a hug to the person that's closest to you. And to say that, there's nothing but goodness in the life that we can do, that we can have. And with that, there's no barriers of anything. But it's the existence of that hope and that what families mean and what they should mean, and to understand.
Thank you so much, Bruce.
So be it in our minds. Thank you.
We would like you to stay on the line because, of course, later on, we would like to talk to you about the traditional healing work that you do.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm really proud to announce and introduce my co-host, David Kukkola. He is a shiatsu master, a medicinal herbalist, an author, and a poet, and he brings 25 years of experience as a practitioner of traditional healing to our program tonight. He specializes in severe and chronic emotional and physical ailments, and he has worked with healers from all over the world. The foundation of his healing practice was established in Japan, in Tokyo, Japan, where he studied under shiatsu master Tokojiro Namikosho. How are you doing tonight, David?
Doing well, thank you.
So
Norma.
good to have you here tonight again. Tell me, who do we have tonight? And before we introduce our guests, tell our audience the vision, the hope you have with this program.
We started this series at the beginning of this year. This is our third program now. We have one more coming up in December. And the vision has been to bring the traditional medicines, the old ways that have served us so well up into modern times, and put those more on the front burner of the news in people's minds, bring attention to our young ones, that these old ways, the old medicines, the old ceremonies, the old rituals are actually the cornerstone, or maybe the bedrock from which we can truly have a sustainable life. And as Bruce was saying, a life that there's joy, there's a life that can be appreciated. And so that the traditional healers form from the four corners of the world is special to me, because I've had the privilege to study with healers from the four cardinal directions, and studying with these peoples from these different indigenous cultures, I've come to see that really we're saying the same thing, and all the people are saying that it's about learning how to live with respect, how to live in kindness, with an open heart, and caring for each other. And so I've been really tickled to death to be able to bring this special crew here tonight, and these traditional healers, and so that we can move deeper into some of the different perspectives that traditional healing talks about.
What subjects will we be covering tonight?
Well, tonight we're going to venture in the direction of some psychological and emotional imbalances. Our first program was more on philosophy, and then from there we went, our second program went more into, we tried to touch the edge of diabetes, and came to understand and share on the program that exercise and nutrition are key elements there in the prevention of this epidemic. And so now we want to venture into a more of a psychological, emotional arena, and we want to talk about depression. And in all my years, and I'm sure with all the healers that are in the room here today with me, we hear many stories day in and day out of people trying to find a reason to live so that their life has meaning, their life has purpose. And so tonight, that's the direction we're going to go. And I have with me Francis Weller, psychotherapist, founder of Wisdom Bridge. Welcome, Francis, to the program.
Good to be here, David. Thank you.
Yeah, and we have Teya Valentina Chavez, and founder of the Valentina Dance Method. Welcome, Teya.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And we have Rob Allbee, longtime healer and worker within Folsom Prison, co-founding the Inside Circle Foundation. And welcome, Rob.
Yeah. Thanks very much. I don't think I'm on. Thank you very much. It's good to be here, and let's dive right in.
Okay, and so before we do that, we're going to we want to do a little special acknowledgement here. Always in the beginning of our programs, there's usually some situations in our community that need to be acknowledged. And for myself, I want to acknowledge my granddaughter, Isabella. She's going to be 8. And I would just want to say I love you, and I hope that sweet spirit that's inside of you shines forever. And Grandpa's here for you. And Teya, I think you also want to say a special hello to someone.
Yeah, I'd like to say hello to my father who passed a year ago, and it's his birthday today. And his name is Jerry McLean, and he was a man of the heart and a man of lots of laughter. And my 2 sons, Joaquin and Jamil, hold that laughter in their hearts tonight as they're with their father out in the world tonight. And I just want to send love to the grandfathers and the granddaughters and the grandsons and across the lines of being here in body or not. We are felt. We are felt.
That's right. We feel the spirits here guiding us.
And so with that, we want to welcome all of you to tonight's program. We want to welcome the families that stand behind you and also the ancient ones that came before you. And also knowing that the walk that we're walking is paving the way for those generations that have yet to come. Let's do it in a good way. Let's do it together. Let's do it with open hearts. We can come together. We have to be willing. We have to let go of resistance. So let's come together as one people, as Bruce said, in one mind. And let's build that good world. And with that, we're going to take a little break here. We're going to bring in our guest musician, Marshall McKittrick. He's going to play some music here for us. And welcome to tonight's program.
Goes among things that change. There is a thread of love following. When we hold on, we cannot get lost. You may be drifting on the ocean, deep in the darkness of dismay. Lift up your eyes and watch the heavens. The stars illuminate your way. There is a thread of love we follow. It goes among things that change. There is is a thread of love we follow. When we hold on, we cannot get lost. You may be lost within the city. Too many strangers all around. Look for the friend there deep inside of you. For what was lost can always be found. There is a thread of love we follow. It goes among things that change. There is a thread of love we follow. When we hold on, we cannot get lost. You may be wandering in the desert, confused and stumbling in the sun. Your thirsty soul cries out for water. One day the blessed rain will come. There is a thread of love we follow. It goes among things that change. There is a thread of love we follow. When we hold on, we cannot get lost.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Very welcoming. And so now we want to move a little further into our program here tonight, and would like to, just for a minute, we'd like to move in with you, Bruce, and welcome you back on the show. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, and so tonight's program, we wanted to talk about the emotional and psychological issues people deal with in traditional ways. We've worked together for many years, and we've always talked about the body, mind, heart, spirit connection, and how much the emotions, how much they play a key part in our physical well-being. I was wondering if you could just maybe share a few words with our listeners here tonight about how you see that emotional element in regards to us having a good life.
Yes, I was thinking about that earlier when we got the facts and looking at, how we're going to do this, or what I can talk about that can bring it close to what we do. And of course, it's always looking at what are those things that we don't share today. And it's our feelings, it's that emotional part of it. And the story, or the thing, the event that happened that I can remember, just recently was my granddaughter. She's going to be 3 in another month. And she comes to our school. So the other day I stopped by, and she's a happy little girl. As many times that I've seen her, that's where she is. She's happy. And my brother, who's the teacher, said she learned a new word yesterday. And so I was looking at her, and she's standing there so proud, And I says, "What did you learn? What was the word that you learned?" She says, "Sungwaya Dizu." And in our language, that means the creator. The creator of all things. And I asked her that. I says, what does that mean? And she says that I am part of nature. I am part of this life. What she is. There isn't.
That's very profound for such a young child to realize that.
Yeah, really.
Heartfelt, Bruce. Heartfelt.
Yes.
Yeah, the tears are going on this side too.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that, there was a young man, fellow, I think he was about 7 or 8, and he was at the fasting camp along with many other young boys, and we were teaching them about what it is to go on a fast and what it is to go on a vision quest. So his counselors came to me and said, could you talk to this one young fella? We can't seem to make any headway with him. He's angry. He's upset. There isn't anything that we can do that can make him feel good about himself. So I said, sure. I says, send him over and we'll get a chance to talk. So when he came, I asked him what his name was. And in the Mohawk language, he says, Desagoya Dolet. And that means he, if you want to say it, in English, is close to what a judge is. So I kind of smile at that. I says, well, what a wonderful name you have. And so I asked him about his clan, and he told me what his clan was. It was the Wolf Clan, same as mine. So I says, we're brothers. We're related. He looked at me, so I said, okay, who's your mother? So he told me who his mother was. I said, what was her maiden name prior to being married to your father? So he told what that name was, and I said, okay. I said, does your mother still have parents? They're still around? He said, yeah. So I said, what's their names? So he told me. I said, okay, now we'll go to your father. I says, what's your father's name? So he told me. And I said, okay. On your father's side, I says, well, who's his parents, and are they still around? He says, yeah. So he told me who they were. And I said, oh, that's good. I says, we're done. And he looked at me and he says, what do you mean, we're done? He says, you haven't said anything to me. I says, I know everything about you.
Indeed.
I says, many years ago, I says, when your parents were going to school, I says, I was the teacher. So I knew everything of the characteristics of your mother. I says, you have it. I says, and the characteristics of your father. I says, you had that too. And I says, and I know your grandparents on both sides. So I said, there's 3 generations that is in front of you, and I says, I know them all. So I says, I know everything about you, even before you say anything else. I says, now, I says, in all of them, I says, do you ever feel comfortable with them? I'm going to go with your grandparents. I said, do you feel comfortable with your grandparents on your father's side? And he says, yes. He said, there isn't anything I can do wrong. I said, there you go. I says, on your mother's side? He says, same thing. I said, now with your parents? He says, well, they kind of tell me I can't do this and I can't do that. So there's a little bit something there. I said, well, that's what grandparents are for. So we're there to spoil our grandchildren. And I says, and everything that you're going through, I says, there is nothing wrong in what you're doing, as long as you don't hurt anybody in the process. So that was my topic for this evening, is talk about that we got to know our people. And the only way we're going to do that is to talk to them. You can't read it from a book, because the book can't explain to you in between the lines. Can't can't do that. We are a people that is supposed to express by singing, by talking, to hear our voice. A man that I knew many years ago, and I haven't seen him since until the other day. I stopped by Tim Hortons, and that's a coffee shop, and had ordered coffee, and my usual, is a donut, and we call it Dutchie or apple fritter. That was one of the ones I usually order. And as I was coming out, this gentleman stood up, and he says, "How you doing, Bruce?" And he says, "I recognize the voice." Wasn't that something? Yeah. So our voice needs to be heard. By not only by other people, but nature. And that's what we teach the children here, is to be, sometimes they're out in the bush, in the woods, and they can make all the noise that they want. And talk to the animals, and talk to the birds, and talk to the wildlife. And some of them are pretty good at it. Almost as good as me.
I've heard it sometimes said, Bruce, that we have to each sing our song, no different than the plants.
Yeah. And if you never do that, then how are they going to hear you? The spirits need to hear you. And that's what we do. That's what we teach the young people. You should see our young people. I mean, if you ask them a question, they're going to give you a life story. Of everything that they've come to be able to feel. As that little girl, my grandchild, what she said. And she knew it. You could see it on her face, you could see it on her smile, and is that she's very proud of being able to take that one word and know the meaning of it. And there's no one that can tell her that it's nothing. It is something. Very part of. So for the rest of her life, starting from 2 years old, almost 3, she fits in. She knows that she belongs. And she knows that she's part of creation, which we all wonderful.
Should. I'm so glad to know that the young people are benefiting from the teachings still. I'd like to take a little music break with Marshall.
Sure.
And then we will be back with David and the rest of our program.
So stay on the line, Bruce.
Okay.
And so now we have Marshall. He's going to play a little music while we take a little bit of break here.
Again. Taking a break.
Lonely light at the foot of a mountain, shrinking star at the pale purple snow. Black cloud hills cover stone cold floors, river lines frozen below. Four corners, center of the nation's heartbeat. Four corners, desert, mountain, and sky. Four corners of my life, tomorrow's whisper of white. In a pressure-fed bird, I fly overhead, westward into the new year. Read some lines of the future time. Digital noise is all I hear. Four corners, your song is the open sky. Four corners, chant for the earth and the cold. Four corners of the time and place, eternally old. Down below I watch your passing, leaving trails behind. I'm still here when you're a memory. I've been here a long, long time. Waiting in the quiet canyons, under ice and powder lakes, a presence aware of a change in the air, while we somehow survive our mistakes. Four corners: air, water, fire, and earth. Four corners. Listen to the world breathe. Four corners of a time and place in the life we will weave.
Oh, thank you, Marshall. That was wonderful.
Beautiful.